desire is to be holy, set apart for you, Lord. I choose to be holy, set apart for you, my Master, ready to do your will. Purify my heart, cleanse me from within, and make me holy. Purify my heart, cleanse me from my sin. Deep within, refiner's fire, my heart's one desire is to be holy, set apart for you, Lord. I choose to be holy, set apart for you, my Master, ready to do your will.
And so, Lord, as we come to share in your word, Lord, may we come, that, Lord, your refining fire, Lord, may cleanse, renew us. Lord, restore us. We pray this in Jesus Christ. Amen. Would you please take your seats? What qualifies you to call yourself Christian? What measure do you use to say that you're a Christian? If someone were to come to you today, somewhere along the line, and say to you, how is it that you're a Christian? What makes you a Christian? How would you respond to that person? What sort of answer would you give? How would you share that? Do you yourself know how you would come up with an answer? You know, one of the scary things for me, or one of the most uncomfortable things is when, especially on a plane, so when you go traveling, the short trips are okay, like Durban to Joburg and Joburg to Durban, they're easy. I've mastered the art of having those 51-minute power naps. Quick. Hit a snore. I don't care about the folk next to me. But the problem is when you take those long-haul flights, those long-distance ones, like, 10, 12, 13, 14 hours, somewhere along the line, a conversation is going to strike up. And in the striking up of that conversation, somewhere along the line, at some point, they're going to ask you the question, what do you do for a living? Now, do you tell them or don't you tell them? Because the moment you do, invariably there is this need for them to confess and tell you why they aren't going to church and why they this. It gets fun. But I can remember on a particular flight, going up now, remember 2-3 weeks ago I was up for our conference, going up and flying up. It wasn't the persons next to me who struck up and asked me the question, but the person sitting in front of me, through that little clear you've got there, that little gap, sticks through and says, obviously it's nerves on their part in the flying. So what do you do for a living? I don't want to spin them a story. I don't want to lie to them. Something like that. I've told folk before I worked for a multinational on every continent and stuff, but I thought, well, maybe this will just put them off. I'm a minister and not a political minister. And so the conversation ensued. It wasn't long that I got to realize that this person really a cool, interesting person and someone I will certainly continue to connect with. Most certainly was not a follower and is not at this point a follower of Jesus. He started telling me about the good things in his life, and that's awesome. I love to celebrate when you hear people with good things happening in their world and in their lives. There's people he's busy helping. Maybe he felt he just needed to say these things because, Germany, you need to say these things too. And he supports a local homeless shelter in the Durban area. And I thought that's phenomenal because not people want to get involved with that. And I said to him, I hope you don't mind me asking. I thought, well, maybe, the best form of defense is to go and attack. So before he asks me too many questions, I'll ask him a question for a change. And I said to him, well, do you have a faith story? And he said, well, I do see myself as a spiritual person. I believe in God. He said, I've tried this New Age thing. I live this positive energy. I've tried a few different religions. He says, I like Jesus quite a bit. And maybe you could say I'm sort of like Christian-ish. And that word sort of stuck with me, Christian-ish. What's Christian-ish? But the more I thought about it, and the more I've thought about his description of himself, I sort of know a lot of Christian-ish people, too. If we were to have a census, I think they could maybe add another little component. When they ask about religion, are you this, Christian, Hindu, whatever, I think they could put Christian-ish there. An additional component. We claim to be, I think an 85% Christian-ish country. Because if we were as Christian as we believe we are, I think things could be very different. But our challenge lies with the ish. Or maybe as we in South Africa know well, ish. Ish, I don't know. Ish, I'm not so sure. Met 'n bietjie extra ish in die dopie. Many of us would call ourselves Christians. But not all of us are overly serious about our faith. I'd venture to say that all of us here, virtually 99% of us we grew up in the church. We've done the Sunday school thing. We'd call ourselves Christians. Some of us are hatch matchers and dispatchers. Some of us are still spiritual. And some of us are good people. And I would venture to say most of us, in and out of the church, have a belief or a hope that we will go to heaven one day. But there's a little Christian-ish problem that we have. I wonder how many of you when you started off the new year, maybe you thought to yourself, this year I want to get some aspects of my life sorted. Maybe some of you also thought about maybe one of those areas is get your life sorted with Jesus. I said at the beginning of this year, and I remembered, oh no, you don't have to do that, Andre. You are the minister, so you should be. But maybe one or two of you really felt that this was a time to look at getting a relationship with Jesus going in a whole new way. Well, we're now down in October, and maybe it would be interesting if one or two of you want to share how it's going. Anyone? You see, more than likely the folks sitting here aren't the ones who have the ish problem. Are we? I've come to learn that every one of us sitting here and the one standing in front has a void and an emptiness and a need as much as the one we see on the street, or the corner, or the robots, or in the bottle store. Funny, I see a lot of you guys there too. I go and buy brandy for my Christmas cakes. And you will start seeing me there frequently, every week now, with multiple bottles. So if you want to know, it's for fruit cake. Okay? That's my story. That's right, Erica. But there's always this little challenge that we have, is that we know how to go through the motions, but you sort of like being Christianish. It's like having a half-hearted faith, wearing the label of Christianity without truly following Jesus. It's where we sometimes become superficial, where we have a watered-down version of Christianity, where we feel we have enough of Jesus to make us feel better, but not so much of Jesus to change us. And yet Christ challenges us on that very notion. And maybe this is a challenge that the world and even the Christian church today faces. In Revelation chapter 3, Jesus addresses the church in Laodicea. And he says these words, "I know your deeds. You are neither cold nor hot. But I wish you were either one or the other. But because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to, and I'm going to use the word as the Greek has it, I'm going to vomit you out." Your text would say spit, but it goes back, it's vomit you out of my mouth. You say, "I'm rich, I have acquired wealth, and I do not need a thing." But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. Those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. So be earnest and repent. For here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. I want to venture to say, you know this text, but in two parts. And it's not often that you bring the two parts together. We all know the part where Jesus says, "Hey, I don't like it when you are lukewarm. You can either be hot or cold, but if you're not, I'll spit you out." We all know that part, do we? But how often do we read it a little further where it goes on to the second part that says, "I'm at the door knocking. Open up, I'll come in." How often do we connect the two? Maybe that's how we sometimes read Scripture. We read a part that works for us. We know it in bits and pieces, but how about stringing the two together the way it was originally written? This challenge to us. Sometimes I've heard preachers, and I've preached myself, and only on Revelation 3 verse 20, knock on the door, come in, no. Ignoring and forgetting the part that goes before. Jesus saying, "But why am I inviting you in? I'm inviting you in because you're not as fiery and as alive as you used to be, or as you once were, or even maybe as you think you are. Maybe you've become a little Christianish in your everyday living out your faith. But I'm lucky, you guys don't have that problem. You are all Christian. There ain't no ish folk here. Am I right? Am I right? Yo, do I have to discipline you guys? I can make the sermon fire and brimstone if need be. But Jesus is warning, if you're lukewarm, I'm going to vomit you out. But let me tell you a little about this church in this place called Laodicea. You know, it was one of the wealthiest cities of the Roman Empire. 35 years earlier, the region was hit by this unbelievable earthquake, massive earthquake, destroying pretty much everything. And they had this opportunity to go and rebuild so much everything, make it nice and new. And on the exterior, it looked beautiful. There were theaters and stadiums and public baths. And that they had, our shopping malls that we have today are designed on the same principle as those early Roman shopping centers, shopping areas that they had. The way ventilation works today in our shopping malls is exactly the same way that it worked for them. We're not the brainy ones. Theirs still stand in many parts of the world. Ours don't last long. They get crumbled and they break. Nothing's made to last. But with everything looking beautiful and stunning and amazing, Jesus calls them lukewarm. And lukewarm was quite striking for the Laodiceans, because they understand what that term means, because they got to share in the lukewarm experience every single day. See, one of their big problems was having adequate water supply. So they tapped water from two areas, Hierapolis and Colossae. You see, the water from Hierapolis was hot spring water. It was famous for its healing properties. When you have that, like, the back it ain't so lekker, and the gut and the big toes and the knee that isn't so, and you just need like a hot soak. Oh, man. Park off and you get out there and the body feels good. And at the source, healing waters are renowned. But this water would flow quite a distance to Laodicea. But the problem is, when it got there, it wasn't hot anymore. It was lukewarm. The water at Colossae? It was known, because it came from the mountains, as crisp and cool and refreshing. You could drink it and you just felt revitalized. When you would climb those mountains to get there, you would get to these waters, you would bathe, and you'd feel refreshed and energized. Like the sportsmen, when they finish playing a match, they go into an ice bath. It's good for the muscles. I don't believe that, but they say it's good for the muscles. You go into a lake. This water was cold and refreshing like that. But as it flowed, when it arrived in Laodicea, the problem was that cold, refreshing water was lukewarm. Like when you go along and it's like a hot day and you go and pour yourself a glass of water and it's like lukewarm. Water at the best of times isn't lekker. And then you go and have a lukewarm glass of water. Yeah, ne? It's not pleasant. But the problem is with that lukewarm water was it also had a tendency, because it wasn't cold or hot, it had a tendency to sometimes become contaminated, and it would make people sick. But the spiritual interpretation of lukewarm is sometimes misunderstood. You see, Jesus wasn't saying you're neither hot nor cold. He wasn't talking about just spiritual passion. I know a lot of people are spiritually passionate, but they have no spiritual purpose and they have no spiritual impact. It doesn't help sitting around, bopping all over the show and doing it and being energized. To do what with? Some of us are caught up only in the moment. We have an experiential faith. When I have experiences, I'm alive, I'm passionate. But the rest of the time, jy dood moeg. I used to joke at a friend of mine, Colin, say to me, I know why your folks sit through a 2-hour sermon. Because you made them jump around for 2 hours, dude. They moeg. And we used to have a good old laugh at it. He says, I know why your folk fall asleep. Well, I won't tell you. Because then I'm going to trade secret out. And Jesus' challenge to you and I is about knowing our spiritual purpose and knowing the spiritual impact that that purpose makes in the world around us. But Jesus warns us, but if you are lukewarm, I will spit you out. The danger is that lukewarm has become comfortable Christianity for us. But for God, it is undesirable. God challenges you and I not to be half-hearted in our Christianish faith. But He calls you and I to action. He calls you and I to live out. I don't know if you know, but tomorrow, Hindus will be celebrating Diwali, the Festival of Lights. And this is genuine, what I'm going to tell you now. If you have pets, all of the pharmacies that are pharmacies, there's one in Ashland Park, there's one here down at the bottom there near Franco's on the corner, they are giving away free tranquilized medication for your pets. Okay? All right. So please go along. But what I also know is this afternoon, the keyboard warriors will be on their phones. You know, these bloody people, can't they do it without bangs, without noise, and they will be, some of you critters will bloody well be doing that too, you know. I'm on the Dingwall Road, I'm on the Sherwood Crescent Road, I'm on the Marion Road, I'm on the Vyden Road, a whole lot of different roads. And the folk will be cupping flow here. Why are you looking at your dad? What road are you in? I'll go get myself on that road. I'll be checking up on you, sir. And we'll be going off. I've got a particular lady in the one area who I've been chatting to now for a couple of years. And we will see some folk and I'm a Christian and this is this, and they will go at it. She will respond and retaliate, and it becomes ugly. I don't have to agree with someone else's faith. But what I respect is someone who is true to what they believe. Right or wrong, true to what they believe. And you know, the funny thing is, at the end of November, get it right this time, at the end of November, we Christians will also be celebrating like a festival of light. The light. Advent. Jesus is the light of this world. You see, you and I can choose from this evening, because tomorrow is Diwali, is to start threatening everyone and sharing our opinions. But what I've been doing with Linda is now 2 years, I've been saying to her, you know what, in a couple of days' time, we Christians are going to be celebrating the light. I'm careful how I use my words. The light. That light is Jesus Christ. And this, oh, I didn't know that. Cool. You see, instead of using this little thing to become a little weapon, because these are our new tongues, eh? Can I ask everyone now, just everyone take out your phone for me, please. Take out your phone for me. I'm not going to check it, don't worry. Just take out your phone. If you have it with you, take it out, please. Because I've got a little assignment for you to do with your phone on your own at a later stage. So you take out your phone, hold it like this in your fingers. There we are. Move your thumbs out that way. Exercise them, that's right. We don't want to cause any strain. So those are your new tongues. If you sit like a send messages. Nice and quick. But you're a woman, you're supposed to do two things at once.
I do other things while I'm doing that.
And so, You can choose to either send messages that look at bringing hate and anger and bitterness, or you and I can learn to start talking to each other, listening to each other. We might not always enjoy what we hear each other say, but we can change. God is giving us the opportunity. You know, when those bangs go off, you can identify exactly the houses, and you and I can take out, we can be like Jehovah's Witnesses, we can go along to those homes, and we can start to clap. You know exactly where they are. Hey, how's that? Start targeting them. Start putting Bibles and tracts and stuff there. You can send them the YouTube link of our sermons. Hey, why not? Or maybe you and I can start engaging with others about whether you agree with their faith or not. But you, in gentle, loving, caring ways, can say, you know, Christians, we celebrate the light that came into this world, Jesus. The light. The one who reminds us, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And you could open up an opportunity to begin to engage, for you and I to begin to share and proclaim the good news of Jesus with people around us. An invitation that every one of us have. You can have the opportunity to tell them. Remember, I asked you the question in the beginning of the service. If someone were to come to you and say, what qualifies you to be a Christian? Or how would you describe your Christian faith? How would you do that? You know, one of the best ways to do it is to, maybe for you when you go home, and we've got a couple of bathrooms here as well. We do have mirrors. Go along and speak in front of the mirror to yourself, because you're the only one who can have an honest, real, genuine conversation with yourself, like no one else can. Because if someone else does, you get upset, you storm off, you're never coming back. So I have to be very careful what I say. But you could go along and have that honest conversation, describe. But even better, that's why I said, take out your phones. You take them out, you put them away. No, I didn't tell you could put them away yet. Take them out. I want you to switch your phone on, open it up, and go to where it shows a little camera. Camera. All your phones. Your phones have cameras, don't they? Yeah. Like mine's got like 1, 2, 3, all the extra little bits and pieces. Go to the cameras. I want to invite you to do a little exercise, because, you know, maybe going to the mirror isn't going to work so lekker. And maybe you don't hear so well. But on your camera, I want you to go to, it'll show, it could say portrait, photo, video, and something else, or it could be portrait, video, photo. I want you to go to the video setting. I want you to go to the video setting. And when you switch it on, what does it do? Are you finding that your camera, and you switch it on, it's like it's looking at everyone else in front of you, hey? That you can fool them. You know, that's often how we live out our faith. We live out our faith looking at everyone else. Oh, you know, they're not so good. Look at them and all. No, I want you to, there's a little setting, like a little round thing with like 2 little arrows. I want you to press that. What does it do? It reverses the picture, hey? Suddenly it's you. Suddenly it's you. All right? I want you to hit then, when you go home, go and do it at home, don't all do it here. Go home, and I want you to go and, you know that little story? I said if someone were to ask you about your faith, what qualifies you? I want you to hit the record button. Should be a little white button with a red dot, or it could be a red button that just needs to get clicked. You hit it with you in it, and you talk. You tell why you should be, what qualifies you. You might feel it, you might want to do like 10 shoots. That's cool. But when you've got to the one that you want, I want you to hit save, stop, put your phone down, go and make yourself a cup of tea or cup of coffee. And then I want you to come back with it, and I want you to listen to you talk to yourself. And I want you to maybe ask yourself the question, Would I be inspired to want to follow Jesus by what I have just said myself? Would you be inspired? Or maybe you might just realize that we are just a little too Christian-ish in our everyday comings and goings. We're used to doing all the motions. We will sometimes wear a nice little cross, as beautiful as they are. But do you see it only as a piece of jewelry, or does it ever invoke something in you when you put it on around your neck that just reminds you, wow, Jesus gave his life for me. He's phoning you, telling you, go for it right now. Or that Bible that you own. Is it just an ornament in your home, or is it something you take out and actually read? Or all those beautiful apps on your phone. Those Christian ones you got. You know, the 25 devotionals that you have on there. Have you learned just to read them but not to absorb them? We're busy getting ready to go to and start our Christmas journey. It's an exciting time that lies ahead. But it's a wonderful opportunity for you and I to begin to minister to those who are different to you and I, who might not know the Jesus story that we will be celebrating. Some folk might get caught up in the Christmas trees. I mean, the shop's beautifully decorated. Lekker. It makes life for someone like me easier. Because when I walk past those different areas and we see the Father Christmas hat and the tinsel and someone stops there, oh, this is so beautiful. And it's a lekker opportunity to step in and say, oh, it's awesome. These are new ones compared to last year. But you know what Christmas is about? Jesus. And walk away. And just walk away. You don't need to say no more. It's about Jesus. That's not difficult, is it? I was at one of the shops the other day, and they had this beautiful little thing over there, and Tani's talking to her kid. I said, awesome, hey? It's like a little nativity scene. I said, it's stunning. It's so nice that they've got Jesus in the story. I said, that's what Christmas is about. She looked at me like, who the heck are you? Okay, and walking next minute, she comes, excuse me, why did you say that? I said, funny you should ask. I said, as beautiful as all these things over here, I love the reds, the greens. You know, when I go to Ireland and I visit my brother and sister-in-law over there, they've got Christmas pop-up shops in the mall. I mean, they only pop up for that month before Christmas. Hey, they've got lekker stuff. Your plates, everything so Christmassy. It's stunning. It's beautiful. But the problem is everyone who buys it doesn't all know the story about what it's all about. And it's a wonderful opportunity for you and I just to say to someone, wow, it's about Jesus, and just walk away. Buy that pack of fruit mince pies. And just go to someone and just give them 6 mince pies. Pay for them first, please. Don't give them and expect them to buy. It's a gift. And say to them, go and enjoy this. And could I encourage you to go and read Matthew chapter 2. Chapter 1 will work lekker too. Go and read the story as you enjoy a Christ-filled mince pie. Or a lekker little slab of chocolate. You know, Cadbury's have got those nice little ones. They do those Christmas edition ones. Go and buy one and just, when someone's at the till and they're walking, leaving, and you've paid for it, just give it to someone and just say, Merry Christmas. Jesus loves you. Walk away. Walk away. What a time for you and I to share the hope of Jesus with the world. Or we can start tonight. And we're going to wait for those Hindus, boy. We're going to tell them exactly what Jesus is not. Do I enjoy the bangs and the noise? No. I've got a dog that climbs the walls. So I don't live with my head in a hole and think the world passes me by because I sometimes wear a piece of white plastic around my neck. It's called a dog collar. I know what it's to be scared when the bangs go. Dog collar. But you and I can change the way we proclaim and witness Jesus with the world around us. We can share hope. God never sent us out to convert the world. He sent us out to be first-hand witnesses of His love, of His grace, and His mercy. You and I don't need words to do that. But sometimes those little gestures and those small actions speak so loudly and boldly in the presence of all the noise in the world around us. Bless you. So I want you to go home. Please, go and film yourself. And then I want you, after that cup of tea or during a cup of tea, listen. Listen to your story. Ask yourself, would anything in there make me hungry for Jesus? Don't do 30 minutes. I can also tell you, the moment someone knows that you're going to go on, you get some of these folk who want to do evangelism and they go on and on and on. I tell you what, I switch off in the first 34 seconds because I know they don't know when to stop. But sharing Jesus is quick and brief. It's a conversation, ongoing, not a monologue, but a dialogue. No, a trialogue. With Jesus in the midst, speaking into our lives and into our moments. We're going to carry on our journey over the next couple of weeks, looking at our Christianish ways. May it draw us closer to feel the boldness and the confidence to share the hope of Jesus with the world around us. So happy filming, folks. Have fun. If it works really lekker, I want to ask that maybe next Sunday, then if you come to church after that maybe you would just want to say to us, how did it feel listening to yourself? We don't need to hear. How did it feel you hearing yourself, sharing your first bit of witness that you can give the world? Give it a bash. And if you're good, I need folk to help me do devotions. Don't feel uncomfortable. When I do those devotions in the morning, you don't see my toes cringing and my hands sweating and stuff like that. It's scary when you look and you listen. But Jesus is with you. Go out and proclaim His good news. Because great is His faithfulness. Because morning by morning, new mercies He blesses us with. So may we go and change the temperature around us. Either too hot or too cold. But don't settle for in between. Let's stand as we close with those beautiful words. As great is thy faithfulness.